Okay, I'm live. Hello. And nice to already have some people sitting in the waiting room. Chatting, not really. So, I guess today is kind of a special day. I think technically we can look at this right now. We're just jumping right into this. Technically, don't you even start, Mr. Man. It is now 10 o'clock officially according to my desktop. Right? Let me bring up my phone. You can't really tell. Come on, exposure. Come on. Here, we'll use the always on display. There we go. Alright. Fair enough. 7 days. Not 1 hour. I scheduled it at this time. Alright. So, I suppose technically, officially, the 1 year anniversary of starting this game is actually tomorrow. But, I didn't want to open that. But, it's close enough. It's 1 day early, but who cares? So, this was the very, very beginning of the game. This was... I even recorded the very beginning of the game. Of me getting started. So this was, as you can see... Maybe. Might be a little bit small. Streamed on February 12th, 2022. So here we are, February 11th, 2023. What was I doing? The song that I was working on last time. It's not finished yet, but I've made a little bit more progress, so I figured before we... It's like listening to two of me. We would just go ahead and take a listen to the song and just see how that's going. I was working on a song. I think I didn't finish the song, if I remember. Turn on the chat here, because I had accidentally turned it off. And also, I realized the chat here is, way up there. Why is that? Let's put that there. Alright. Okay. Anyways. Yeah! Let's take a look here. I'm gonna actually let it... Just get to it, Nolan. Just get to it. Here we go. Yeah, I never actually finished the song. It's also really quiet for you guys. That's right, that's the meta. Streamception. This is a cool song. I wish I had finished it. Yeah, anyways, we're not here to listen to the music, though, to be fair. This is a cool song. I still have that project somewhere, so I don't know, I should probably go back to it and finish it. Content recycling, yes, sort of. I do want to kind of just bring up, the early days here. And obviously, we're not going to watch the whole stream. That would be kind of nuts. But it's kind of to get a baseline of where this all began, which is right here in the sandbox. I still have this sandbox too, but it's not quite so fluorescent. Idle, that's not correct. I'm updating the stream title. Who gives a shit? Restream. Nolan, no one cares, Nolan. No one cares. East. And... Okay, again. Again, computer. Do not show my... I'm telling it. No one cares, Nolan. No one cares. Why do people watch streams? Alright, for the time being... This is quite loud. Let's go ahead and disable. What was I doing here? Oh, we're just turning down all the volumes and stuff? I don't know. Anyways, who cares? here's, I was building the jump thing. Like, believe it or not, I didn't even know how to, like, do a good jump system. So here I was, like, building out I think at this point in time, I was just building out the jump system I had used in my previous game, which was kind of jank. Basically, it was an event where, as soon as you touch the event, it's funny to roast people live and comment section. That's okay. All right, that makes sense. I understand. Anyways, so like way back then, I didn't know about the conditional player direction. So because I didn't know about it, my method was just, an event touch. Regardless of whatever way the player is looking, it just forces them to auto jump to wherever I designated for them to jump. Obviously, it's a pretty jank method, but that's because I was still pretty new to the software. And at this time, I'm still pretty new. Because I think actually between my previous game and then building this game, I actually took a break to go learn Unity and also attempt to learn Unreal. I didn't make a lot of progress with Unreal. So anyways, but, I wasn't really too satisfied with Unity, so I came back to RPG Maker to test out some stuff. And here, I'm just trying to see if I couldn't find a less jank way of doing jumping. Eventually, I did figure out there is the conditional of, player direction, so that way the player can face a direction and then jump that way. And I could make it activated, so, it's kind of semi-interactive jumping. So anyways, so this was the very start of the game, a long time ago, obviously a year ago. And, I was, for this stream, I was gonna, like, kind of come up with a full list of everything. Nolan the Noob, yeah. I mean, I still obviously have a lot to learn about the engine. Especially when it comes to, like, the scripts. A lot of the, like, I guess you'd call it the advanced features. I think I've pretty much come to understand how to use it. Well, I say I've come to learn how to use eventing pretty well, but I'm really struggling with eventing currently in the game. Maybe I'll show that problem and see if you guys can brainstorm why the problem exists. But anyways, I'm fairly confident when it comes to eventing, but when it comes to all the scripting stuff, I'm still pretty noob when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it's obviously with a whole year of just using RPG Maker, obviously I've made enormous amounts of progress, and I'm not gonna lie, I really think the cave level, which was the level that I used for the beta test, really pushed my knowledge of the engine to its limits. Like, it really demanded a lot in order to get things to work the way that I want it. So I really think the cave level is sort of winds up being like it's really when I started, I guess you could say it's that moment when I finally broke through and really felt like I really started understanding how the engine worked. So it only makes sense that it's kind of my proudest moment, and is why I used it as the beta test. I've talked about it before. I'm not really sure what to do about the seas. Visky, nice to have you here. I'm not really sure what to do about the seas. I don't really, like, it's just, I don't think it's worthwhile completely redoing a dungeon, because that's just going to unnecessarily extend the length of time I'm developing the game, but at the same time, the seas themselves are admittedly far more amateurish when compared to the cave. So I don't know, I've just thought about adding some extra features to it just to kind of flesh it out a little bit, and maybe kind of mask the fact that it's a lot less engaged than the cave. Like, the cave, you're kind of having to juggle, the fish and the platforms, and then, there's a lot of puzzle elements that are going on. There's nowhere near that kind of complexity that's going on here in the seas. It's mostly just walk and battle and blow shit up. So Nolan the noob. Great. I hope it doesn't stick. So, anyways, I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, I guess just becoming more familiar with the engine. I guess in short, like I was saying, I feel pretty confident when it comes to eventing, aside from a problem I'm having now, but I also don't really understand the scripting stuff very much. I often need help with the actual scripts, so... Anyways, I built out this list. It's definitely not definitive. I was kind of just typing this up while I was distracted just before the stream, so this is, like I said, by far not definitive. There's still a lot of missing stuff on it, but it's kind of an overview of everything that's been implemented in the game, at least off the top of my head. And I sort of tried to put it in order, but there's not really that much of an order to it, so, you know, obviously... And when I mean everything, I really mean everything. There's some stuff in here that seems like, duh, of course you have to make that, but like, yeah, I'm including the obvious stuff too. So like, you know, I made the intro scene, I built the intro level, and I rebuilt the intro level because I wasn't happy with how it looked. Is a level, is that -2? Unpunctual, oh, fuck off, unpunctual. I built the town. We can actually, you know what? I can take a look at these. So actually, just since we're here, here's a sandbox. This is what we were looking at before on the stream. This is that same place. This one, you can kind of see this little cliff shape there still exists, but a lot of the rest of it's been kind of reformed to fit whatever it was that I was testing out. So anyways, there's that. That's not important. That's just where I test a bunch of shit. Oh, and I also applied this, I don't know, yellow grass because the fluorescent green was burning my eyes every time I went into the sandbox. So I switched it out for something a little bit less harsh than that fluorescent green that the RTP uses. So anyways, we have the intro level. So originally this used RTP as well. But I wound up deleting the RTP, and I made this custom tile set, which you can tell is super detailed, highly, you know, very intricate stuff here, you know, very super, yeah. Even professionals can't make this kind of stuff. Professionals struggle to make polygons. So anyways. So I made this completely new tile set. There are some unique pieces to it. Like this treasure chest here I made. And there's a little crystal as well too. Nothing super special, but it's not just squares and triangles, mostly. So, anyways, let's see. So I made the intro level, and then, of course, remade it when I created the tile set for it. And then I built the town, so we have the town here. Obviously, I talked about the town in my, like, on the store page, but you know, it's authorized to use a sample map for sandboxes. Yeah, but like, why would I even bother like copying a sample map for the sandbox? Like that takes time when like it doesn't matter what it looks like. So I just slap down some, you know, some fucking green grass and then just build out whatever in the middle. Like it doesn't even need the. In fact, the less details that are there, the better. So, yeah, like this is totally fine for the sandbox. Anyways, you know, obviously I talked about the town on the store page, but that wasn't part of the beta test because there's a lot of moving parts to the town that are still missing. So, you know, I didn't want to give access to the town. Not to mention, like, the beta test was really more focused on, like, gameplay stuff and not necessarily story. and the town is basically entirely story. So as far as gameplay goes, there's some gameplay, but it's definitely more the story side of things than the gameplay side of things. And of course, the way that the game is designed is that pretty much all of this is, as I've put it, is non-compulsory, is the way that I describe it. Basically, it means you're not required to do anything. Nothing is mandatory to be done. So if you don't want to interact with the town, if you find that stuff really boring, then the game is totally designed for you to completely ignore it. Although, of course, there are incentives to engage with it. They're not required, but if you do engage with it, of course, you get rewards for it. So anyways, yeah, I built out the town. What else do we have here? So I created the town happiness mechanic. So just like the player gets levels, the town also gets levels. As the town levels up, new events and stuff will unlock. So then there will be some small evolutions to the town as you level it up. Nothing super major, but some minor changes here or there, just as the town levels up. Let's see. Created the piece of manuscript player growth system. So the player growth. So of course you have your leveling system, which actually, by the way, that's something that I didn't even put on there, but that's actually something new that I added. So the leveling system in my game plays an interesting role. It's fairly traditional, but with its own twist to the traditional, number gets bigger. Like, that's still there. Don't worry about that. I like the small little dopamine rush you get when small number get bigger. So I didn't get rid of that, obviously. But there is still another twist to that, which is that enemies scale with the player. So obviously, if you don't bother with equipment, then it's kind of like you never leveled up at all. In fact, actually, enemies get just more difficult as you level up. So it's like if you level up more, then the harder the game gets. I know that's somewhat controversial because I think Fortuna has talked about this before with me, because this is not the first time I brought this up on stream. I think you mentioned like Final Fantasy VIII did something like that, where it was always just better to stay at level 1 in that game. I never played Final Fantasy VIII, obviously, because I enjoyed that card game. I don't remember what that card game was called, but it was a lot of fun. Anyways, so my game is obviously not a one-to-one copy to that. First of all, there are special rewards for leveling up. There's reasons to level up. Also, bosses have a minimum level requirement. So obviously, if you don't level up at least a little bit, then you won't be able to beat the bosses. And what else was there? There are incentives to leveling up, and also you just can't beat the game unless you level up a little bit. Of course, I had it there on the tip of my tongue. What was the other reason? Oh yeah, it's difficult to avoid not leveling up at all. Like, if you go into fights, you're obviously going to get some experience. So, anyways, one thing I did do with this leveling system is that now, because leveling up is more about just increasing the difficulty, and so if you think about, let's do some jank drawing. Trap level up. It's sort of like a trap, yeah. People who like get clued into it early on might realize that they don't just want to earn levels infinitely. If I recall correctly, I'll need to check where I set the level cap for enemies, but I do believe I set level caps for enemies at 9, and the player's maximum level is 10, so you can out-level things if things are too tough. if I recall correctly. Anyways, it's time for Nolan's favorite section, drawing jank graphs that don't make any sense. So if we let's make a graph here. Okay, we have a graph, and we'll just say what is time to, yeah, let's not write it out, let's not paint it out, let's time to level up, that's what we'll call this. Yep, there we go. Okay, so this is the time to level up, and I don't know, this is this is what, level, sure. There we go. Is that right? Am I thinking? Am I making my jank? Am I making my jank? Am I making my jank graph correctly here? I think so. So it's kind of like, yeah, of course. No, that level is not right. I don't know. No, I think time to level up should be on the. What am I trying to do here? What am I trying to do? I had this in my head. I think time to level up should be on the y-axis, and this is gonna be the level. I had it backwards. There we go. There we go. All right, we've got it figured out. Okay, so the time to level up is gonna be like, for level 1 is like, you know, it's super fast, right? Let's say there, and you kind of get this. I guess fast is at the, yeah, this would be slow. This is slow at the top. So, you know, like, you have this kind of curve, but then it kind of starts, like, the amount of time, assuming that you're fighting like enemies at your level, you know, it kind of normalizes for a little bit, and then it's when you get to the end of your like the maximum level, it really starts to slow down a lot, right? Something vaguely like that, right? So it's kind of like the middle portion of a game, assuming that you're fighting enemies at your level. You know, it might slowly get a little bit longer between levels, but it's roughly at about the same amount of time there to level up. So it's kind of like, in my game, it's like, well, I only have 10 levels, and leveling up sort of serves a different purpose towards the game. Like, it's basically a difficulty curve. So rather than having, you know, a time to level up curve like this, why not just take all this and just flatten it out? Just flatten it out. So you bring the bottom up and the top down, and then everything is just a flat line across. All right, there's our. Somehow I managed to not draw a penis. There we go. There's my jank graph. Thank you for coming out to my TED Talk on how to draw weird graphs that don't make any sense. I will see you again in the future. Anyways, so there. Basically, I want a flat line. So this actually was kind of difficult to figure out. Mostly just because my solution to it turns out it didn't work. I don't know why. There's Hime's like level tables, or I don't remember what it's called, something like that. And I was like, and basically what you do is you can just use like an Excel sheet, and you can just write out how much experience is acquired for each level. So that way you can create your own custom curves. So, and of course, you know, RPG Maker doesn't let you set just a flat curve, which is why I needed a plugin for this anyways. However, there was a weird problem with Hime's whatever table thing, the XP table or whatever it's called, where it would just instantly level me up, like any experience at all, and I was instantly just level 10 for some reason. And I played around with stuff. I don't know if there was some sort of conflict or whatever. I moved the plugin around. I changed all sorts of settings. But I just couldn't seem to get it to work. So that didn't work out. Turns out Yanfly does have a plugin for this kind of thing as well. Now, of course, you're not using an external file to do it. You just input in the note tags for a class. I think it's like, what is it called? Like class something, class-based parameters. There it is. So class-based parameters just allows you to put a formula in the class note tag, and one of those things is experience. And the nice thing about this is, thanks to Yanfly allowing the use of JavaScript code, I was able to actually integrate my game rules into this. So Fidel's XP rate here, you can actually change. This is the amount of experience required to level up, and since it's a flat rate, you just change what that flat rate is. So you can set it to 20 experience to level up, 25, 30, 35, 40. And of course I can always change this later, but it's nice to be able to integrate that into game rules. I did have an XP rate option existing before, but the way that it worked was using one of the other plugins from Yanfly. I think it was like I don't remember. It's like EX parameters or something like that. And then you could change the XP rate percentage of your character through a formula, and this just modified that formula before. But actually, if you recall from the beta test, you got 0 XP in the beta test, and that was actually because in that formula itself, I made a mistake, which resulted in you getting 0 XP. That was not supposed to happen in the beta test. Anyways, I didn't mean to close that out. It's been fixed now. I playtested this because I got this implemented. So we can just like go here. And actually, wait. Oh no, that's gonna go right into the fight. Hang on. I want to enable OP Fiddle. Intro set. So, if we just kill these guys. So there we go! 2 XP! So it actually works. Hooray. So there's that. And that whole tangent, I totally forgot. This whole tangent was about the manuscript, pieces of manuscript. So this is one of the interactions with the city. So we have our librarian. Where's the library? There's the library. So we have our librarian, and the librarian has lost pieces to his life's work, his own manuscript. And if you can find the missing pieces of manuscript and return it to him, he will give you a self-help book. You can choose from a variety of self-help books, and each of those self-help books will improve a stat permanently. So the idea was sort of taken from Legend of Zelda, from the Legend of Zelda games. That's where the name is derived from, because in Zelda you have like pieces of heart. You know, obviously after you collect 4 of those, you would get you'd get extended health after collecting 4 pieces. So it's the same idea here. After collecting 4 pages of the manuscript, you will be able to permanently increase your stats. So yeah, anyways, I implemented that, and also I implemented the Town Crier hint system. So the Town Crier hint system is here. So this is, no, not that page. So this is one of the not main characters, but so I don't really have like a quest log or anything like that. But of course, as you level up the town, new quote-unquote quests become available. New NPCs will appear, and so without any sort of way of keeping track of that, players might not know what to do, and so that's sort of her role here. So I built this system here where basically she will randomly provide advice on where to find like the next quest or next person to interact with if you're lost, and it'll always be random until you've completed that person. However, the way that it's built is that whenever you reach a new rank in the town happiness level, it will always give you the newest hint first. So no matter what, you'll know where the newest NPC is if you go right there and talk to her right away to find the NPC's location. And then after you talk to her that time, then subsequent visits will just always be a random hint each time. So yeah, I built that system there to help out players since I don't have like a quest log or anything like that. Created player skill selection. So here's where leveling up the player comes into play. So here at the church, every 3 levels, you will be able to pick a new skill. And I actually thought about including these skills into the playtest, like allowing at the beginning of the playtest, I was just going to allow the players to just like pick one of the 3 skills that are available. It's your choice. But the problem is that right now the balancing on kind of all of them, but definitely 2 of the skills is all jacked up. So I didn't want people to be like, oh well, this skill is like really unbalanced, why the fuck did you let us pick this skill, stuff like that. So I didn't really want to worry about that, which is why I decided to I removed that from the beta test. And what I wound up doing is I just gave everyone the better healing skill. So like from this guy, you get the healing skill that was used in the beta test, where basically after you heal yourself, you'll get healthy stacks. And you can use those healthy stacks to clear all states from the player. And that's one of the skills that you can unlock from here. So that one still needs some tuning, as some people brought up. I do think with that skill, it's a little bit unfair that you have so many requirements in order to actually clear stats that it's sort of unfair that right after you clear all the states, you can have states applied to you immediately right away. That does kind of suck. It would be nice if there's at least a cooldown period before states can be reapplied after doing that. So, that's something I need to adjust to. For that skill. The other skills are just kind of a mess. But the point is that I do have the system working. So basically every 3 levels you can come here and you can talk to him and you can pick a new skill that you want to learn. So there's that reward for, leveling up. Every 3 levels you can come and talk to him and get a new skill. And it's your choice too. It's not a linear order. Just like most of the game has this philosophy of non-compulsory. So you're not required, you're not mandated to follow any specific order for learning these skills. It's your choice. I'm not gonna go show the librarian again, but the next thing I've marked on here is created a piece of manuscript hint system. This works very similarly to the town crier hint system that tells you where NPCs are, or gives you a hint for the next NPC to talk to. This kind of thing works vaguely similarly. It's not as intelligent about how it provides those hints. Basically, it gives a very broad hint just to kind of give players ideas like, oh, I didn't think about trying this. So the hint system says, why don't you consider trying this if you can't seem to find a piece of manuscript? Stuff like that. It's not the most intelligent system, but it does work. Created the introduction to all major NPCs, and one NPC has a full quest implemented. Yeah! So all of the major NPCs for the town all have an introduction, and the introductions I'm pretty proud of. They're all pretty lengthy, but I do find the dialogue entertaining. I think that's one important thing, is to make sure that it's something that as you playtest you enjoy rereading that same dialogue over and over and over and over and over again. At least, let's say you enjoy reading it up to at least the first, I don't know, 10 times. If you can still enjoy that same dialogue after reading it 10 times, then hopefully players will at least enjoy it one time. So yeah, all the introductions are pretty long, but I've enjoyed reading them. I think some of them are pretty impactful. So all of the NPCs do have lengthy introductions to kind of introduce who they are, and I don't know, introduce the people of the town. So, and then this NPC, which is going to be your first NPC, actually has a full quest. And technically, there's a couple of other ones that are like almost finished as far as quests go, like lengthy. You said, yeah. Fortuna knows something about lengthy intros. Yeah, well, the difference here, Fortuna, is that I didn't have an option. I was stuck doing your intro for as long as you had mandated it. Again, to reiterate the point of my game, is that it's non-compulsory. When the NPCs appear in town, you are not required to go introduce yourself to them. You can completely skip all of the lengthy introductions if you want to. It is a non-compulsory design. Anyways, so I didn't put this in the notes because I don't necessarily consider it complete. There is a quest here that is like pretty much fully implemented, but as I was writing it, I noticed there's sort of a plot hole with one of the things with this character, and I was trying to figure out how I could resolve that plot hole, and it suddenly occurred to me that in that quest there is actually room to add I guess you could say a branching path to it, that would actually resolve that plot hole. Not necessarily a plot hole, but a loose end. I think that's a better way to put it. So I don't consider it complete because I do want to implement that, so that way I can make sure that it's possible to kind of tie up a lot of these loose ends, because each of these, the way that I've written each of these characters is kind of like they have a problem and you solve it. I know that sounds really, really basic, but like, how can I put it? It's more like it's not like oh, my cat's gone missing. Like, it's not like a fetch quest kind of problem. It's like an internal struggle. Like, each NPC has their own struggle that they need to overcome, right? And you are there to help them overcome that. But the thing is about the quest here is it's actually kind of not about that, overcoming that emotional struggle. So that's where the loose end was. And so I realized that it's possible to actually tie that loose end up. So I'll have to implement that. So it's not, I technically don't consider it finished, even though the Word, I guess you could say Word document that I have for this, it's a text document that I have for this quest is complete. It's all been copied over. What am I trying? You get what I'm trying to say. Who cares? So created the combat tutorial. So here's the thing with the combat tutorial, and I didn't even mention this for the intro scene either. So way back at the beginning, the intro scene and this combat tutorial, these were both things that I'd implemented pretty early on into the game. And the combat tutorial itself doesn't provide enough information. The stacking mechanic was built within the sandbox itself. So like the concept of like the core of the combat was there, but it wasn't, I guess, fully realized, and still It's still not fully realized because I should have actually started that news with the beginning of this video. Orc knows I had some bad news. I'll bring it up later. Let me just get through this list. But I had some bad news, so it might be a while until I can actually fully realize my vision for the combat. Anyways, but because the combat wasn't like, I didn't even have it fully realized in my head, like I hadn't fully thought it out, the tutorial is kind of lacking. And so, which also, by the way, that's why the tutorial that you received in the beta test is what it is. I did actually, at that time, I had a tutorial, like an actual proper tutorial set up in my game when I made the beta test, but because it was lacking information, I opted to just not use that tutorial and instead just kind of go with a placeholder text dump tutorial, which, you know, I had a bunch of people complain about. I don't know why folks didn't like pick up on the fact that obviously this is just like fucking placeholder text. Like, I know this is not gonna be the tutorial for the final game. You don't need to tell me that kind of shit. Like, I fucking know. Anyways, so anyways, I need to redo the tutorial to kind of flesh it out better, to better suit the changes. Of course, I prefer to have the fully realized combat. You know, the vision I have in my head, I would like to have that implemented in the game before I actually fix the tutorial. The other thing also is, as I said, I forgot to mention that the intro scene needs to be rewritten as well. The concept for the game, although like the main themes and I guess the overarching story for the game has pretty much stayed consistent. The one thing that hasn't is the way that I approach those themes and the way that I approach that overarching concept for the story. And so it really requires complete retooling of the introduction, because the introduction basically takes any sort of, you know, subtlety and nuance with the metaphors that are in the story and just completely throws them out the window and basically beats you over the head with what the story is about. And I don't like that. They didn't pick up on that because people are not testers. Almost everyone who wants their demo played just releases their unfinished game as a demo. Rarely anyone makes the middle section of the game as a demo for testing only. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyways, yeah, so point is I just need to, on the story thing, I need to redo the intro so that way it can, all the metaphors and subtleties align with the themes of the story, instead of taking this fucking dynamite approach to the story, to the concept. Anyways, let's see what's next on the list. Built the Seas dungeon. I kind of already talked about that earlier in the stream. I built the Seas dungeon. It has some problems because this was the first dungeon I built. It's a little bit more run-of-the-mill, a little bit more expected. Like I said, I don't want to just completely scrap the whole thing and rebuild it, because that's just going to be a lot of development time that I don't think is worth it in the case of this game. Like, if this game was like a, you know, higher budget, more hyped, I don't know, like AAA game, then I would definitely like put in that kind of time. But in this case, I think it's best not to just scrap it all and redo it, because otherwise the game would never be finished. Instead, I'm just going to see if I can't band-aid a few things on top of it to kind of mask the fact that it's somewhat more amateurish in its design. I do have some stuff from the very early days of this map. I had already planned to sort of recycle this map with a sort of an ending content concept that I do think would add some appeal to this map. Like your first time going through it, it'd kind of be like ho-hum, pretty humdrum RPG Maker stuff. But then, the second time, if you actually have the retention to play the game up until that point, suddenly things would be like, whoa, okay, I get it now. So we'll see. I don't know if that's enough because, like I said, that obviously that kind of content would come later when, especially, so here's one of the flaws that I'm pretty aware of with the non-compulsory design of my game is that there's a 1 in 3 probability that a player will decide to pick what I say is the worst dungeon in my game, which will leave a bad first impression, while leaving only a 2 in 3 chance that players might go to one of the more interesting dungeons. So I'm fully aware of that. So obviously, I do think I need to tack on maybe some sort of stuff into the dungeon just to kind of add some appeal to it, to catch people's attention. And I've actually done a little bit of that. I did add, I didn't put this on the list, but I did add an extra room. This room is not much, but it's just like, it at least extends the length of the dungeon because it's also much shorter than the cave. So at least this kind of helps keep the length. Colosso. No. It's the worst dungeon for you, but I don't think it's the worst dungeon. Anyways, so I did add an extra room to this map, so it does at least extend the length of it. It's not pulling enough of a weight to kind of bring it in line with the cave, but at least it's a little bit something. Anyways, I had already talked about that at the beginning of this stream, so I'm not going to stay on that too long. One thing that is down here that I'm going to skip down to is I built... Where is it? Built an auto-target range skill. So originally here, this was something that I did change. So originally, for this game, I didn't have the idea of having, like, I guess you could call them like Zelda-like gadgets, where, like in Zelda, you get some neato gadget from a dungeon that you use to solve puzzles. I didn't want to do that initially. So in this map, let's go to the right one. Let's show this off. In this map, you have these logs that are here that have fallen down that you can blow up. And so originally the way that this worked was that these were basically locked doors. You could consider these locked doors. And again, I'm making a lot of references to Zelda, but I guess it's the best thing I can draw an allusion to is in Zelda, you find one key to open one door, right? So you need to find the key to open the door. So that's kind of how it worked here is you would need to find lightning rods to open the door. And so basically the lightning rod was a consumable item in order to progress further into the dungeon. But I didn't like how that worked in my game. Like the dungeon was not well designed around that. There was some really jank ways of having to acquire new lightning rods that just didn't make sense. And then when I did the cave, when I built the cave level, I had decided that I wanted the hammer and chisel set to be a permanent item. And after I decided that I wanted to make the hammer and chisel set a permanent item, to me suddenly it just didn't make sense for the hammer and chisel to be a permanent item, but then the lightning rod not be a permanent item. It's just like, why? So I completely remade the way that the lightning rod works. It still has the same function of just destroying these logs. Of course, now that it's permanent, I could basically add more logs to destroy. What's the purpose of having more logs? No reason, really, other than just the joy of blowing shit up. Like, I could totally have just this one log here and not have these other two here, and it would serve entirely the same purpose. But I don't know, it's fun. I do like the way that it works. And then in addition, now that it's permanent, I could also add additional features to it, which you got to see in Caldera Colosso, by the way. The lightning rod allows you to stun enemies. So now, you know, of course the enemies will pursue you, but now with the lightning rod, you are able to stun them to slow them down in their pursuit. So I was able to add that function now that I made the lightning rod a permanent tool. And I do like the way that it's implemented. Let's see, can I... I think I might have a save just out, like with this already complete, maybe. Nope, never mind. All right, it'd be so far behind that it might not load properly anyways, so that's okay. So I'll just have to do this puzzle, which actually I need to completely redo this puzzle too, because it's just nonsense. But whatever. For now, this is what it is. I guess destroying things is more fun than jumping over them. I like having a combination of blowing shit up and jumping over things. Which is why now that option exists in my game. Let's make sure tutorials are enabled. So here you get your lightning rod. Recharging will hurt Fiddle. That sounds dangerous. So let me turn down the music. So I really do like my sound design work on this. I designed all the sounds from scratch using a synthesizer, and I'm pretty happy with the results. Like the lightning is really crunchy, and the shoo when it charges up. So I think, let's see, is it gonna mess with the music volume if I go over here? Okay. And the little alert, you have the little spark that goes around Fiddle whenever you're ready to expend a charge. Like that. I'm pretty satisfied with how this turned out. It's informative. So you see that spark, so you know it's ready to strike them with lightning. And I'm also happy with the sound design. Nice. Oops, I was talking when it happened, but a nice subtle little. So yeah. Anyways, I was pretty happy with that system that I had built. Let's reset the music volume and close out. Oh, you actually like them. It was hard to tell because, yeah, I remember you had your chat people who were complaining about them. You've picked up on it. All the fiddle sounds. It should actually be spelled F-I-D-D-L-E, but exactly. That's exactly why. A lot of the sounds are like violins, because the violin is a fiddle, main character's name is Fiddle, haha, haha, there's a joke. Anyways, let's go back. So I like that thing that I built, and obviously that's for the C's themselves. So that's another thing that's been like tacked on and replaced in the C's to make it a little bit more interesting. You're not solving puzzles because you're just blowing shit up. There's no puzzles that use the blow shit up thing. that is one idea I had, is that maybe I can make a room where you blow shit up as a puzzle. I don't know how, when you can blow up as many things as you want, when there's no limit on it, because you can recharge anywhere at any time. It's hard to make puzzles around that. So I don't know. I'll have to think about it some more. I wanted to add another room. I don't know what that other room would serve. Let me read what you said here. The one thing that I really liked in Fiddle are the fiddle sounds and the music in general. I've seen a few games doing something like it, very, very rarely, and I think it's really cool. Thanks, man, despite not liking most of the rest of the game. Thanks. Yeah. Alright, next is Cave Dungeon. Yeah, I'm not going to linger on this too much either, since you guys played the beta test. And, like, the caves have, like, taken up pretty much, I don't know, like, the past 4 or 5, maybe even 6 months, any of my dev streams have been about these caves, because they've taken so long to fully implement. The dungeon itself is pretty much finalized. I would like to do a couple of playtests through the whole thing, just to massage out any of the problems. I think there's a few missing sound effects and stuff that need to be implemented. I'm not sure. That's why I'd playtest it, is I'd write down notes of the things that I've just forgotten to go back and fix. But the Caldera Colosso is part of the cave, and so I need to finish Caldera Colosso, which is currently where I'm stuck at. And it's mostly actually, like, Caldera Colosso itself is pretty much for the most part finished as well. It's just implementing the final boss and all the story stuff. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's all FSM stuff. Like, I'm not going to take credit for the art. It's just careful retouching, recoloring the stuff, and also combining, like, I cut and paste different parts from different tile sets together. So, although I am kind of surprised to get a praise on my mapping from you. I've never really felt too satisfied with my mapping, especially in the cave, man. Especially in the cave. Like, I wanted to add more, like, this area right here is, like, a good example. Yeah. Maybe, on the music theme combat. Hang on. Let me finish what I was saying a moment ago, though. Like, this area here is kind of, where I feel like my mapping is not the best, and this is just sort of the general feeling I had. It's like, I want more, I don't know, doodads and stuff populating this area, but I just have only a few rocks to use, and I got tired of placing these same rocks and these same spires. I don't know, like the cave, I really felt like I struggled a lot to make interesting and very filled up areas. Like, this area definitely feels like very sparse, very empty, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It is what it is. So, the music idea is probably not bad. It's sort of just that, like, and I kind of agree with you, it's just that the game itself kind of started out as a tech demo. I've talked about this quite a few times in my past streams, actually. I don't know why this keeps coming up, but for whatever reason. It started out as just a tech demo, and so I wasn't really trying to... That was strange. Did you see that? I do have... Don't worry, it's not... If you did see it, it's not like I have a stranger just appear in my house. I know I do have a guest over. It's just I thought they were asleep. That was the door out of this room is a little bit squeaky. Probably could use a little oil. I guess you didn't see the person. I didn't see the person. That's the thing. My guest, because they're asleep in the room there. I thought they were asleep. I thought they were asleep in there, but I guess somehow they slipped out of the door. Like, I didn't see the door open. I didn't hear the door open back there. Anyways, okay. Anywho, what was I saying? What was I saying? Yeah, the game started out as a tech demo, so I wasn't really trying to do any like out of the box combat, you know. And that's where the stacking mechanic kind of like worked, is because it's still fairly, you know, standard like, you know, RPG combat, turn-based RPG combat. It's now a horror stream. No, there she is again. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi? No. Bye-bye. Good night. Okay. Anyways. So yeah, that's where the stacking kind of came into play, is because it's fairly typical. Like, it still works within the realm of RPG Maker, but it's not. You get what I'm saying. You know, it worked for just a technical demo. Since the game has become what it has become. I'll talk about the news in just a minute, but it's not a bad idea, Mr. Orc, actually. It's not a bad idea. Let's talk about that as soon as I get through this list. So let's just try to get through this list a little bit faster so we can talk about the news, and then we can brainstorm something. Alright, built the fish toss mechanic. You guys know what the fish toss mechanic is. You pick up a fish, you throw it in the lava, it creates a platform. That was surprisingly not as straightforward as it should have been. But yep, that I built that mechanic. Built the side game mode, Caldera Colosso. That's the mode that you hate. It is cleared. I have adjusted it a little bit. I feel like I should show this to you, actually. I normally don't like showing off story stuff in my game, but the story stuff is also like it's part of the tutorial as well. And so some of this stuff, some of the tutorializing was made in response to the beta test. But also, like, let me put it this way. So I had all the dialogue for Caldera Colosso written before the beta test. I've written a lot of the dialogue for the game already. Like, most of the writing is done. It's just implementing the writing into the actual game. However, of course, it's just writing, so the direction of like camera and stuff like that is not in the document, so I have to come up with that as I implement the dialogue. So in response, any of the graphical stuff that you see going on with the Caldera Colosso was almost sort of pretty much made in response to how Caldera Colosso worked. So, oh, I have speedrun mode on. Oops, we can't have that enabled. So, we have the boss, I guess you could say, of the arena. So, and our new contestant has arrived. Hi, I'm Fidel. Have you seen my stuffs? Your stuff? Your stuff? This is Caldera Colosso. Cola cold soup? What are you, deaf? Caldera Colosso. What's that? Caldera Colosso is the greatest game ever to have been developed. The game of fire. The game of trial. The game of life. And of course, the most exciting of all games, the game of death. This part needs some work. This is all being worked on, right? There's the usual disclaimer. This is not final or whatever. Games? Indeed, games. Sports! It's sports! The library guy was right. The many people's jumping and shouting are making Mr. Mountain sick. Hey, mister. Call me Engine, the charismatic and confident host of Caldera Colosso, here to provide commentary on your demise. Okay, Mr. Edgy, nice to meet you. Engine. Yeah, that's what I said. Hey, Mr. Edgy, can you tell all the people to stop jumping and shouting so much? Mr. Mountain is feeling really sick, and so everyone is feeling sad. Stop? Stop jumping? Stop shouting? What do you not understand about Caldera Colosso? Pretty much all of it. Caldera Colosso is the greatest game ever made. All of these people are here to cheer until their ankles snap and their throats rot. They came for the show and they aren't resting until the grand champion declares a rule set that tells them to stop. Or until the world ends. So I just become the grand champion and everything's fixed. Yes. I can do that if I have my stuff. No, that's not how Caldera Colosso works, Pipsqueak. Your stuff is my stuff until you complete round 1 of the greatest game ever. So what do I do, Mr. Edgy? Here we go. The rules are simple. I'll put 5 minutes on the clock. Your goal is to travel the Caldera, searching for any tool you can find, weapons, armor, delicious, highly caffeinated beverages. Then, and let me make this clear, before the time ends, you must return to the center of Caldera Colosso. Once you've returned here to the center of the arena and touch the torch, you'll have an opportunity to assemble your gear. So you could see how... what I did was, and I looked for like a really good spot in Caldera Colosso that kind of was a good overview of like snaking pathways, but also you could see where like chests kind of have appeared and maybe see some of the other elements you might run across. So I found a good spot somewhere and then just set the camera to pan. And because I have to be me, I didn't I didn't want to give that sense of RPG Maker things. I also deliberately made sure the camera moved in a diagonal because, you know, by default RPG Maker can only do cardinal directions on the camera, which is the most jank fucking thing. So anyways, I found a nice spot where I can move the camera diagonally and kind of show off the area a little bit. Of course, if you're even a millisecond late, you'll burn like a fish in lava, so it's recommended you don't get lost in the arena, or do get lost. Really, that's the best part of Caldera Colosso. Watching our contestants squirm under the pressure of time, lost in the caldera, the seconds tick-tock onwards one step closer to immolation. They're like little mice scurrying in fear of the encroaching viper. Oh dear little mouse, hurry, hurry, before the heat strips your fur. I'm not a mouse, Mr. Edgy, I'm Fiddle. You're the size of a mouse, Pipsqueak. 5 minutes to collect stuffs, then I touch the torch, don't get lost. I think I understand, that sounds easy, Mr. Edgy. Easy? Yeah, easy? She says Caldera Colosso is easy. I think this one will burn bright. Plumes and embers. Those are pretty sparks, Mr. Edgy. Hey, Edgy, after I touch the gold, do I get my stuffs back? No? Do you think Caldera Colosso is just about collecting pretty little mantelpieces just for fun? You use whatever gear you find in preparation to face off against the crowd's favorite. Then will I get my stuff back? Ha 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 ha. I got a better question for you. This one's for you. What's that, Mr. Edgy? How about you give me a call in 18 years? What? What do you mean? Oh, that's right. You'll be dead. So instead of wasting time with stupid questions, let's just skip the chit-chat. The crowds are livid to see the mouse scurry. I'm going to make everyone happy, Mr. Edgy. If that means winning your cold heron coster low, then I'm gonna do it. Don't under-hesitate me. Far be it from me to hesitate, Pipsqueak. Step into the center of the ring once you're ready to start Caldera Colosso. Let's play the game. There we go. So that was the missing story from the beta test there. So I think it gives a much better idea on how that's supposed to go. The one, can I still, yeah, I can still open up the menu. Let's put on OP Fiddle, not that one. Let's put on OP Fiddle real fast. So I can at least, while I'm here, I can show off the current problem I'm having with events, despite feeling like I'm pretty experienced with events. I'm suddenly having troubles here. So we're just going to beat the boss real fast. So you're supposed to have your stuff, the stuff that you collect, explode out of you. Where's the music? I thought I returned the music back to max volume. Oh well. I just realized, in fact, during that whole event, there's supposed to be music playing while Engine was talking, and it wasn't there. I don't know why it took me so long to realize that the music was not there. Anyways, when you complete it, the stuff that you collected is supposed to explode out of you and then burn up, and then your old stuff that you lost is also supposed to explode, or it's going to explode out of the torch for you to collect. And I'm using, I made a special character sheet. Not that. That's my jank fucking graph. I made a special character sheet with, all the items and weapon icons there. I know there is Yonfly's, event icon thing, and I was using that, but I didn't like the kind of control, that it gave me. It was just so much easier to, control what icon is being shown, by just putting it all onto, a character sheet like this. Anyways, so I did that, and what it's supposed to do is, when the items... So before you enter Caldera Colosso, it checks what your current equipment is, and it saves that into a variable, right? So it knows what your equipment is before all of your equipment gets burned up. So that way, at the end of Caldera Colosso, it checks those variables again of your saved equipment, and then what's supposed to happen is that equipment, explodes out of the torch, and it should be showing the icon of your equipment. I just realized this is not going to work properly anyways, because what I wound up having to do to ensure that it works more consistently is it actually runs your current equipment check on the map before Caldera Colosso. There's a bunch of shit that runs when you enter Caldera Colosso that, I don't know, parallel events are just going off and just firing off and triggering all sorts of things that, I don't know, maybe it's just placebo, I don't know, but it always feels like if I can just move some events, move some of the parallel processing out of Caldera Colosso itself, it just means things are kind of running smoother. I'm not talking about lag or anything like that. I just mean less bugs are happening, I guess we should say. So it's supposed to check the equipment outside of Caldera Colosso. I didn't start the game outside of Caldera Colosso, so this is not going to work properly at all. Also, I didn't pick up any equipment either, so... but you'll at least get an idea. Yeah, where's the music? You'll at least get an idea. There we go. So you can kind of see those are there. So you can see that these ones appear, and if I had run the check before before Caldera Colosso, if I started the game in the previous map before Caldera Colosso, I should have a weapon that would appear here. Those three appear just fine. This one here is supposed to be your accessory 1 items. Here, your accessory 1 items, but for whatever reason, I've checked this, and it always just sets the, it doesn't run the check correctly, so, and this might be a messy way of doing it too. Well, let's see, where's my accessory 1s? Here's accessory 1s. So you just have a check. If, it just runs through the sequence, checking the variable, like you said, it saves your equipment to variables. So if this equipment has at least 1, if this equipment has at least 1, whatever, it just turns the event image to the correct image on the sheet, and then switches it to B. So this is like a parallel event that just runs this check real fast, and then it switches over to self switch B which just the only reason why it switches over to B is to make sure that the image that it shows matches. That's all. And then the rest of the event is exactly the same. I feel like that's kind of a messy way of doing that, having a bunch of event sheets that... The only reason why these event sheets exist, these 3, 2, 3, and 4 here, the only reason they exist is to make sure that the image matches. So it feels like a messy way of doing that, but whatever. Anyways, for whatever reason, this just doesn't appear. It's like maybe I made a mistake here. I don't know. But it always switches... Right now, what I checked is it always switches to D, which is what it's supposed to switch to if you don't have any accessory 1s. If you have 0 saved, then it should just switch to D, because obviously you don't have any, so you don't need to pick up any. Or it switches to D after you pick up the item. So I don't know what's happening there. I'm not sure. So anyways, that's the current bug I'm dealing with, and I've had to fight this a lot to try to get it to work properly, and I don't know what it is that I'm overlooking, but I can't seem to get it to work properly. So anyways, yeah. Okay, let's get through the rest of this, because there's the game mechanics thing and the bad news that I want to talk about. So I haven't forgotten about that. Let's see. Created combat mechanic. Most people said that they didn't find the use for this. I kind of understand. The usefulness is there, but it does need some retooling. But at least the mechanic itself has been created. I think it's pretty cool. Just means when your confidence is low, you get a buff, and when your confidence is high, you get a different buff. And if your confidence is anywhere in between, your stats are normal. Created stack momentum mechanic. This is not something I really talked about in the beta itself, but every time you win a fight, your luck, let's just call it luck. I call it stack rate in the game, but it's basically luck. Your stack rate increases by 1 point for each battle that you win. And so basically you kind of get like this chain, this combo going, this chain going. So as you win more fights, you get higher and higher luck, which means it's easier to apply states to enemies. And then if you run from a fight, or obviously you die, or the other thing too, for balancing purposes, for fairness purposes, to prevent excessive grinding, or if you fight a boss, it will reset your stack momentum back to 0. So, and so the reason why I remove that from bosses is just because I don't want players to feel like they need to have a high chain in order to fight a boss. I don't want them to grind a bunch of enemies to build up a high stack momentum chain before fighting a boss. That's just, I don't want them doing that. That seems silly. So instead, it just, whenever you fight a boss, it just clears the chain. So that way you're always going into a boss fight with your normal, standard, unbuffed stack rate. Down here, I have 6+1 weapons. The +1 just means like the +1 is your default equipment. So you have your default weapon plus 6 other weapons, 10 accessory 2s plus your default 1, and then 7 accessories. I built an auto target. Okay, yeah, we already talked about that. Beta tested the game. You guys know about that. And, built the grind basement. Oh, I'm so glad I added that there. Okay, this is the last thing I'll show off, and then we'll talk about the bad news. Let's go here. I also want to show this off real fast, and this is probably the fastest place to set... No, it's not the fastest place to set the spawn. Whatever, anyways. As a small little bonus, I talked to my artist. So my artist uses a bear icon for her profile picture for her avatar. And when I saw that this DLC had like a cute bear in it, I was like, oh hey, that's what my artist uses, a bear kind of like that. And so I was like, I got this empty house that I didn't have any plans for in my town. It was mostly just I put that house in my town just to kind of balance the shape of the town, but I had no purpose for it. So I was like, I can put you in the game if you want. So she said, yeah, I want to be in the game. So this is my artist. Those are her own words. Of course, she sent it to me in Japanese, and then I translated it. But yeah, so this is just a small little bonus. Just because it serves no purpose other than the, hey, it's my artist. We need to use the skip events. So this is not wholly implemented, and I can't wholly implement it until all of the enemies have been added, and that probably won't happen until I've completed all of the dungeons. So this is not completely finished, but basically I had this abandoned house, and originally I had a plan to make this house have this super like obscure secret to allow players to access the sandbox where they could, you know, I don't know, play around with everything that they wanted. The thing is that the sandbox has changed, and you know, it's not. I didn't like that idea, honestly. As time went on, I didn't like that idea anymore. So, having to select an actor in the menu when it's a single actor game is jank. I agree. Unfortunately, so there is Galv's like single actor menu plugin, which I had been using for a time, but it started causing some problems. A lot of the engine itself and a lot of plugins are not built with that in mind. So unfortunately, I had to remove it. But I agree, it is kind of jank. Anyways, so I wound up scrapping that original idea, and I created this. So one thing that I really wanted to do is, obviously there's a chance that players may want to grind. I don't know why, but the way that I've handled enemies is they only appear once on a map, and then of course after you beat them, they are gone from the map until you reload the map again. And there are not many enemies on each map, so that makes grinding kind of tedious, because you would have to walk all the way to the enemy, kill the enemy, walk off the map, reload the map, and then go back to the enemy again to kill it. It'd be really slow for grinding. I don't think there's going to be that many people who want to grind, but for anyone who does, I went ahead and built this this basement here, where it's just fight after fight after fight after fight. And I decided, you know what, just let's make it a little bit gamey, a little bit video gamey here. And it tracks high score. So you get a score. Each fight you kill, it just adds a point to your score, and you try to get a high score. I did think about maybe adding a reward after attaining a certain high score. I'm not completely sure. Like I said, it's not fully implemented. But anyways, yeah, it says here, for each monster group you defeat, you'll gain 1 point. The basement is a great place for the sport of combat or honing Fidel's combat skill. Are you prepared to fight? Yes. So, yeah, you just do a fight. I probably should have turned on OP Fidel, but oh well. How is he not dead yet? Oh my gosh. That's probably a regular attack would have killed him too, but oh well. There we go. So, there you go. The current number of monsters groups defeated is 1. What would you like to do? You can continue fighting, check equipment, or leave the basement. So, there you go. It just works like that. And, oh, the one thing I would mention, there's a couple of other things about the basement. First of all, after, I think it's after about a minute, the battle music will change, so that way you're not constantly listening to the same battle music. It cycles through all the battle music that I have in the game. And second of all, oh yeah, the monsters are supposed to unlock as you explore each level. So like if you go here at the very beginning of the game, first of all, the dungeon or the basement won't open up until you've gone to at least one dungeon. Then after you've gone to one dungeon, you'll only find enemies from that dungeon here. But if you explore a second or even the third dungeon, then it will randomly add those enemies in. So it's just going to be random enemy groups after each other. I also think this is slightly more interesting because each dungeon has its own element type, so you'll wind up kind of using the same element repeatedly in that dungeon. Like, you know, the cave, you're going to mostly use your wind attack, and the forest, you'll mostly use your lightning attack, and the seas, you'll mostly use your fire attack. So you know, it kind of allows you to explore using your options a little bit more. So, anyways, and there you go. Monster troops defeated 1. Your current record is 1. So there we go. Yeah, I don't even remember why I implemented that. It was sort of a strange decision, but anyways, yep. That's everything on my list. So we've gone through that whole thing. So hooray! Let's talk about the news that Mr. Orc knows about. I had a programmer who was programming a few things. Originally, I had gotten in contact with a programmer about doing a custom battle UI, because that's sort of what started the whole conversation. Let's see if I can bring up the render of that. Battle UI. Which one represents it the best? How about this one? Sort of shows all the different windows extended. No, I redesigned it though, because this one was a little bit cluttered. Where's the redesign? Where's the redesign? Well, here's one with a bunch of notations. Oh, there we go. So, this was the battle UI I wanted built, but there's also some features in the UI itself that sort of necessitated having a plugin made. Also, my stacking plugin is bugged. So the way that the stacking plugin is supposed to work is that in each state, you're supposed to specify the maximum number of possible stacks for that state. However, the bug that happens with it is that whatever state you specify has the maximum number of states possible gets set to the maximum number of possible states on the player. So let's say, for example, I said, this is not how this is just an example, okay? This is not how it actually works. But let's just say, for whatever reason, I say the lightning state can only be stacked 3 times, but my fire state can be stacked 5 times. Well, the way that this plugin, the bug that's with this plugin is, first of all, the electric state will stack 3 times. But if now suddenly I have an enemy applying fire stacks to me, I will only get 2 fire stacks, not 5. And that's because in the fire stack itself, I specified maximum possible stacks of 5. And that's maximum possible stacks on the player, not for that state. I think it was Fortuna. Someone had actually run into a bug. Had actually run into this bug without realizing it. I don't remember what it was exactly that had happened, but I think they had told me that they had problem like maybe applying a state or something like that. And basically what it was is I sometimes use invisible states to kind of declare like how to put this, like to declare what the player is currently doing in combat. There is an invisible state that's occasionally applied to the player. This is mostly used for the hammer and chisel set. After trying a number of different ways of preventing the player from using the hammer and chisel twice in combat, where, you know, you'd have, like, I don't want players to spawn more than 1 statue in battle. I want there to be only 1 statue in battle possible. And so I needed to remove the skill when the statue is there, and I need the skill to be back in the player's skill list when the statue is dead or gone. And I tried a number of different ways of implementing this, but the best way I found, the most reliable way of doing this, was through an invisible state. That just kind of says, that invisible state tells me when a statue is there and when a statue is not there. Unfortunately, because of that bug I just mentioned with the stacking plugin, what winds up happening is that you have that invisible state on the player. So they try to get 5 stacks of whatever, like let's say healing on them, but it stops at 4 suddenly, and they don't know why, because one of the states is invisible. So yeah, there's that bug. So that was one of the things that I wanted my programmer to fix, or not necessarily fix. We were just the plugin is even the developer themselves admitted that it is just spaghetti code, and that's why I had actually contacted them, and they're like, yeah, I don't want to fix it because I was young when I wrote that, and I have no fucking idea what I wrote here. So not even the original developer wants to fix the plugin, and so I basically said, hey, let's just rebuild it from the ground up, and so that's what he was going to do. That's what my programmer had started doing. The Yanfly state doesn't work that way, as far as I'm aware. Yanfly's states things just it stacks like turns, but it doesn't stack effectiveness. Like it's not just you keep stacking the number of turns that the state is being applied to the enemy. Instead, it's stacking the number of it's like each one increases fire damage by 20% or something. So each stack is, if you have 5 stacks, then it's 200% fire damage on the enemy. But if it's just 1 stack, that's only 120% fire damage. Just use state counters? I don't know. What? I don't know state counters. You need to teach me. Anyways, maybe. Well then, either state counters or Yanfly's things you need to teach me, because obviously I need to completely redo the whole state stacking mechanic. Because obviously there's a bug with my plugin. But hang on, let me keep describing what we were trying to accomplish here. So one thing that I also wanted to do with the battle HUD is I wanted to display the number of stacks, because I don't have the game open. Basically, the way that the plugin applies stacks to states is it automatically just draws a number on top of the icon. But there's 2 problems with this. First of all, my font color being this kind of dark brown is already kind of hard to read on some icons, but it also draws the text really small. So between the small text and the dark font, it is just impossible to read the number. So this was something I wanted to do with the UI, is I wanted to completely separate the number of stacks from the icon itself. So you have the icon here and then the number of stacks right here. Let me get caught up on you guys. Okay, you will not have the possibility to stack plus 10% fire damage and stuff. Max stacks 99. Only problem with that is that it's not showing a number of stacks. Yeah. So that's where the battle UI would have to come in. It'd need to... I don't know. We'd have to figure that out. Yeah, so that was one of the things that, one of the plugins that I wanted made. Maybe we can do it with Yanflies. That's fine. So, yeah, anyways. There's a couple of other things, too, that I wanted done. He was talking about maybe wanting to completely rebuild the con mechanic, the confidence balance mechanics, where you get the buff at certain extremities of your confidence bar. So you can kind of see that here. you have this little brown arrow pointing to the lower part of the confidence bar and this brown arrow here pointing to the upper part. So those are part of the UI design denoting where the buff will be applied and where your confidence needs to be. Just show the state counter instead. Hang on. So anyways, so the confidence balance system in my game was built using events. It's just a troop event. It's a troop event in combination with a common event that just checks some stuff to do this. And I think my programmer was talking about possibly just rebuilding the whole mechanic into a plugin. I guess maybe because I don't know why he didn't really tell me. I think maybe it's just easier to implement the UI elements if it came from a plugin rather than from an event. I don't know. I'm not sure why he wanted to do it. I'm just guessing there. But he wanted to maybe make a plugin for the confidence balance mechanic. Yeah. And the last plugin that he was also going to help make for me, I've talked to Fortuna about this a long time ago. I'm not sure if you recall. I really want to reduce the amount of menu navigation that happens in combat. I think the more menu navigation you have to do, the more bogged down you feel with combat. So I really wanted to create a hotkey system where you could just like, let's open up a different, not that one. It's like here. This is a good example. So I just, for each new open window, I wanted like hotkeys 1, 2, 3, and 4, or it could be rebindable. I would hope that it could be rebindable to just quickly activate that skill. So like, for example, if we have the actor window here, we have engage, support, poise, item. So engage would be press 1, support would be press 2, poise would be press 3, and item would be press 4. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'd only have to tap one key to get there. And then with your skills, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 for your skills. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you obviously wouldn't be able to hotkey everything. So you might have, another 4 skills down here on the second row that wouldn't be hotkeyed. You'd still have to navigate to those in the menu yourself, but at least hotkeying these 4, especially in my game, because your skills 1, 2, 3, and 4 are kind of like your most important. Having those hotkeyed, I think, would make a real big difference. And so that's what I wanted, is just hotkeying like menu items in combat to kind of just speed things up a little bit, reduce the amount of menu navigation that you have to do. And then, of course, obviously, he was going to make the UI itself. But unfortunately, he has dropped the job for various reasons. He didn't really give me a lot of information, but it sounded like it was a combination of problems along with some family matters. He'd been talking about those family matters with me a little bit. Like, he just mentioned, I mean, it's not like he was like, spilling his heart out to me, but I'm just saying, like, he had mentioned, like, hey, this might take a little bit longer than I thought because I have family matters that I'm dealing with. And then, it was just delay after delay, family matters and this, and then he was just like, you know what, sorry, I just don't think I'm going to be able to do this. So he just dropped out of the project. So I don't have a programmer anymore. But I guess with every dark cloud, there's a silver lining. So, Mr. Orc, you talked about maybe leaning into the music thing a little bit more. Maybe I can do that. It's like, maybe this like I said, the game started out as just a tech demo, so I was just kind of trying to stay within that wheelhouse of just turn-based, fairly simple combat. But obviously the game has kind of ballooned into something a little bit more than just that. So maybe it's worth considering actually maybe investing in that kind of thing. And actually, surprisingly, When you had mentioned that, an idea kind of hit my head almost immediately. It could still be turn-based combat, but instead of having to wait each turn with a chance to apply a state, instead you could like maybe hit the like kind of like the action sequence kind of thing where like you'd like press the key in time, and if we wanted to make it rhythm based, music based, then it'd be kind of like the more in time. Okay. hang on. So it's kind of like if you had like a perfect beat hit, then it would guarantee the application of a stack. And then if you were off the beat a little bit, then it'd be like a 90% chance. And if you're horribly off, then it would be like, 30% chance or something. So, and it could still be turn-based, but at least then each turn you can like apply more stacks. It wouldn't be like really far outside of what I'm doing now, but it would still at least be something fresh. Well, I'm not saying action sequence there, but I'm just saying it's kind of like that where you need to press the button in time. You'd obviously need a. So that's the one thing that gets me is like you would need a plugin that would be able to read the beat of the music. That's probably not too terrible. You could probably using the way that like loops work with OGG files. You could probably assign either a comment or something, or even like within the plugin itself, the plugin can probably read where samples are. So you could probably say at sample, samples 1 million, 1,100,000, 1,200,000, 1,300,000 are the beats. Those are the downbeats. 1,100,000, 1,200,000, 1,300,000, 1,400,000. So once the plugin knows 1, 2, 3, 4, then it knows the tempo of the songs, and it would be able to know where the next beat is, and the next beat is, and the next beat is, because music is just math. So once you define if you can just define a few of the beats through like, I don't know, like a plugin parameter or something like that, then you could just use some math to figure out the tempo of that song. In the sense of hitting buttons to a song or something, they would never sync in RPG Maker. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. There's that possibility. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a way, like I was saying, like you just feed what samples. Like, is it time for jank graph drawing? Let's just use the same graph. We'll just remove those, and we'll just delete that. So like, we have our song here. I'm gonna just like draw a really jank waveform. See, the audio would play, but your action sequence speed is relying on FPS, a little lag, and you're offbeat. Well, so what I'm saying, so like in music, I'm sure you've set up loops. Oh my gosh, you've set up loops manually for your music before, maybe, possibly. No, I'm not sure if it's more realizable. This is just brainstorming. Like right now I'm not saying I'm going to completely throw out my current combat system. And also to rewind back a few messages ago where Mr. Orc was talking about having certain musical instruments or instrument weapons and like lean into the music stuff way more. No. I'm not going to completely retool my game from the ground up. So probably not going that far. And like I said, with my idea, it's more just about, it's still the same concept of applying stacks, but it's just that now you would press the key in time with the music in order to guarantee more stacks. You'd also be able to attack more than once per turn. So yeah, in fact, actually we could say it like this, where it's like the attack will just hit 5 times. That means if you are successful on all 5 hits, you'll have instantly applied 5 stacks in 1 turn. Of course, that would also ramp up the amount of damage that happens. Like, that would completely change the balancing a whole lot if you could just apply 5 stacks in 1 turn. Not to mention, I'm not sure how enemies would handle this. You'd obviously, like, I guess the plugin would just have to you'd want to randomize it, because you wouldn't want enemies to always 100% of the time succeed. So you'd want them to fail sometimes, but you'd also want it to be believable too. So I don't know, that becomes a whole different kind of challenge. Anyways, what I was saying about my jank graph here, so we have our audio waveform, and technically there should be a bar that goes through the middle like this, but anyways. And so you would have, like, this would be a beat right here, and this would be a beat, and these should actually technically be evenly spaced, but obviously I drew this by hand, so it's not evenly spaced, but you get what I mean. So anyways, let's just pretend each of these bars are evenly spaced apart. Those are like your kick drums, I guess you could say. So you just say, like, your music is broken up into samples. You can kind of consider samples like frames of musical data. They kind of align this metaphor with music. So, but of course, there's way more samples per second than a game, because obviously if you only had 60 samples per second, trust me, you would hear that. That would be very, very obvious. So it's like, usually it's 44,100 samples. Is that right? Per second? I'm not completely sure. Anyways, so when you set loops, you specify, like, on this sample is where the loop starts, and you're going to loop for this many samples going forward. So I guess in a plugin you'd say you'd need to specify where your downbeat is. So that's define the tempo of the song. If each of these beats are evenly spaced apart, then it's only a simple math formula. You just need to figure out 1 and 2, and I guess maybe 3, and you would know, like, oh, there's this many this many samples between each downbeat. So you'd say, here at sample 1,100,000, you have your downbeat, and then here at sample 1,200,000, you have your downbeat, and then here at sample 1,300,000, you have your downbeat. And now the plugin, the game knows, okay, so there's 100 samples between each downbeat, which, by the way, that's not realistic at all, but that's just for this example. Now that it knows that, then it knows that the next beat is going to be at 1,400,000, the next beat is going to be at 1,500,000, so on and so forth. Then the plugin itself would just need to, instead of depending on the game's frames, it would be depending on the song's samples. So now the plugin should be looking for, okay, the button press needs to happen on this sample right here. So if the player pushes the button, I'm going to write A, that's going to be our button, presses A here, then it's a good job. And then, of course, depending on how many samples off you are, that's like your range is how good or bad you are. So basically, what I'm saying is you're instead of tying the logic to the frames, you're instead tying the logic to the samples of the music. I don't know how feasible that is with RPG Maker. That's obviously a whole beast. I don't know if that's worth going into. Obviously, oh yeah. Well, okay. So to clarify, I'm not talking about this happening in action sequence at all. I'm sorry. Maybe I've lost you because I. Maybe I lost you because I said it would be like action sequence. All I'm talking about when I said it'd be like action sequence, I meant is you can use action sequence to, man, it's like fucking Super Mario, not Super Mario, like Paper Mario. Paper Mario time button presses, whatever. They're not gonna have like a maybe just jump, combat jump. I don't know, man. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm not necessarily talking about action sequence itself. It would obviously have to be written completely into a separate plugin for this kind of thing. Yeah, you see. So anyways, like, I'm not talking about using action sequence because, yeah, obviously the whole action sequence would need to be completely rewritten with how it works. Yeah, timed inputs is what you usually do in action. And that's why I brought up action sequence. So, but I'm just saying, this would be a completely new plugin. You hate those Paper Mario style inputs. I actually like them. I think that sometimes. Yeah, with the sync in mind. Yeah, making the synchronization based on samples in the music rather than being based on on frames. There we go. I finally got it out. But yeah, the Paper Mario style inputs. I think it combat tends to become stale. Now I will say, like. So, like, the combat inputs, I do think make combat more interesting. What I've seen, I'm going to be honest, I've only played one game, actually, that's not Paper Mario, that has used those kind of inputs. I think I brought it up on stream one time. It was called Virgo versus Zodiac, which used similar timed inputs. My problem there is that the game really fucking punished you if you fucked up the input. Like, if you didn't get the input just right, then you are basically screwed for the rest of the fight. This is what I really liked. This is what I really liked about Paper Mario, is that it felt good to execute those timed inputs, but it was never required. It was just sort of the bonus. But yeah, I don't think that would be reasonably commissioned. Yeah, possibly, probably not. The other thing is also, you need some familiarity with music as well. And this is maybe an unfair generalization, but my sense, my sense of most of the programmers in RPG Maker is they're not musicians, or at least they're not programming musicians. Like they might play some live instruments, but they're not like in the like production side of music stuff that deals with like samples and stuff like that. So they might not know how to do that. So it'd probably be pretty tough, and maybe that's an unfair generalization of folks. But point is I think that the person who would know how to do that would probably be pretty rare, and therefore be pretty expensive. It's fine if you don't deal any damage if you miss the input. It's just that in Virgo versus the Zodiac, if I recall correctly, not only did you not deal damage if you fucked up the timed input, but also enemies hit like a fucking Mack truck. And so basically, not only are you not dealing enough damage, but now you're taking a lot of damage because you fucked up. Like, it was hugely punishing for failing the inputs, and it's just not enjoyable. I really like the inputs feeling more like I like them feeling like rewards, not punishments. Same. Okay, well then I might not like your game. You might enjoy Virgo versus Zodiac. Anyways, I don't know. This was just brainstorming. You know, obviously, if we did something like this, it would be more compelling for the game, because obviously one of the biggest complaints about the game was that the combat was not very enjoyable. And so I do think something like this would at least bring a little bit more engagement and make it a little bit more interesting. Yep, sure, no problem. I'll review it and hate it. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about it some more. I think officially the game kind of has lost any sort of expected release date. Because it's sort of funny, because I had hoped to release it this spring, but considering I'm still technically working on this fucking cave, and haven't even started working on the third dungeon, and still have a bunch of quests to implement for the NPCs, plus, you know, the whole like final act of the game. I'm pretty sure spring is not happening. And with the programmer dropping out, I need to find a new programmer, and that's going to take time to find a new programmer. It's also going to take time for them to make the things that I need. And so I don't know when this game is getting released. And there are more ways I can totally help you out with action sequence stuff. You could potentially tie musical sound effects into the action sequence that kind of form a song thing. I don't really want to do that either. Yeah, I don't really want to, because that would involve like possibly writing a bunch of new music. Don't get me wrong, I do really like I enjoy writing music, but at the same time, it takes a long time to write songs that I think are good. And it's sort of kind of like, because a lot of the music is in this game is using the same chords, because it's structured thematically around two different melodies, and both of those melodies are in the same key using mostly the same chords. It's kind of like, as I write more and more songs for this game, the more and more difficult it becomes to write music for it, because I'm starting to exhaust the number of ideas I can have with the limitations I've set for myself, this theme. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it some more, and you're always welcome. Anyone who's watching this, but Mr. Orc, I know you'll probably spitball some ideas. Welcome to spitball some ideas on how to make it more engaging. Here's the thing, like, so I've mentioned in the past before. I think I even brought up this document. Like, I had this, never gonna happen, lofty dream game idea that kind of started me out on this whole game dev quest to begin with. Is like, this is the idea I dreamed up. One day I want to get to the point where I can make this game. And so I've written that whole idea down quite thoroughly, because obviously it may be years before I'm ever able to actually make this game. So I wanted to make sure that everything is laid out quite clearly, so I know exactly what I wanted to do with this game and what the ideas were. And so this is obviously where the name came from, Fiddle and the Big Noise. I I don't want to talk too much about my game's story, but let's just say the game is sort of like a critique on an industry, and I mean, I'm always the one who has to do artsy metaphors and stuff like that, and so I enjoy it being a critique on something while still being lighthearted. You know, it's not taking itself too seriously, which is why I think it can critique something that it's not a story about like love and trauma or, you know, anything like, you know, like the critique is not like anything deep. It's just like, oh, that's thought provoking. You know, it's like, oh, that's an interesting way to look at that. And so it's sort of, I would rather stay within the theme of that here, despite all the musical like stuff that's happening in this game. It's not actually about the music industry. Now, this one here, I would love this one to be a critique of the music industry. And boy, have I have lots of things to say about the music industry. That is a long Word document. Like I said, it's been thoroughly written to explain all my ideas for this game, that I hope maybe one day, 10 years from now, maybe I'll get to actually make that game, but probably not. That one can be a critique of the music industry, and in that one, can't wait for the replay at 0.1 speed. And that game can have more musical elements. The thing is that this game, like I said, started out as a tech demo. And so, of course, I'm using names and ideas from my big idea. You want to make a snarky remark by comparing the Word document to Valoran. But I'm not forcing you to read the long-ass document. You know, I've used some names and some ideas from the big game in this game because it was just a tech demo, so I was just like, yeah, whatever, I'm just going to use those names. But it's really not, it really doesn't have that much musical stuff. Like, I know Fiddle has the name Fiddle, and the money is called notes, like music notes. But that's sort of where all the musical stuff kind of ends. There's like some musical references in the soundtrack itself. For example, I have one of the songs is like called Fiddle versus the Compressor. A compressor is something that you use in music to compress the music. Like, going back to my jank graph here, if we were to say that each of these little spikes in the waveform were like something like a kick drum, sometimes they might be too loud, so you want to compress those spikes down to so they don't like hit the ceiling. Whoa. Hit the ceiling of the music here. You don't want them clipping. Yeah, okay, well, jumping makes fiddle noise. Those are references to the name. That's not references to music. But yes, you're right. Jumping makes fiddle noises. Fiddle speaks with a fiddle. And the enemy warning sound is also fiddle as well. And there might be some other fiddle sounds somewhere as well. I just don't remember. But anyways, those are all just for fun. Those are paying homage to the name. Your remark will be accepted after you do 5. Oh, you're replying to Mr. Orc. Anyways, so like the point is like the name Fiddle versus Compressor is just talking about compressors are often used in like electronic music to make things sound really big, because if you squash these peaks down really low, then that means you can turn the rest of the music way the fuck up. So yeah. And I think there's also the boss music is called Fiddle versus the Amen Brother, which might sound a little bit jank, but if everyone knows Amen Brother. Here we go. Okay, that's sped up. But anyways, everyone's familiar with the Amen break. Basically created effectively 2 genres, actually. It created drum and bass. We would not have drum and bass without the Amen break. And also jungle house, which drum and bass typically just takes the straight Amen break itself and just uses it straight, like that. They might speed it up or slow it down. They also might layer other drums, but they pretty much keep that same rhythm. And then jungle instead chops each of those drum sounds up and reuses them for new sounds. Yeah, you have. It's one of the most used samples. I bet we can find a list of all the popular songs that have sampled the Amen break. List of all the songs using the Amen break. Salt and Pepper. Television themes such as Futurama. I didn't know it was using Futurama. Is that right? Now I want to listen to it. You probably wouldn't know the Amen break itself, but you've definitely heard it. I can guarantee you that. Futurama theme. Does it actually use the Amen break? It does. It does. That's the Amen break. I never noticed that. They've layered some other drums on top of it, but the Amen break is definitely there. Anyways, point is, the boss song is called Fiddle versus the Amen break. Go figure. I'm using the Amen break in it. And I only brought that up just because I'm saying those are the references to music. Versus the brother. There you go. So that's the Amen break. Let's go back. You lost 100% of your public with your music discussion thread? What are you talking about? What thread? Are you talking about, are you talking about like since I started talking about music now? that you guys just don't get. I mean, I know you guys don't give a shit, but you fucking sit here and you listen to me talk about music, whether you want me to or not. You're trapped with me. Anyways, yeah, but I've definitely gone off on a tangent here. So let's reel it back a little bit. So, anyways, this has gone way off the rails. The point is the references to music are pretty limited in the game. I know they are there, and I would love to one day make that game that is just filled with critiques on the music industry and filled with music references. That sounds really fun. I've had some ideas just pop up here and there, but the game I'm making now is not that game. And so, I don't know, I would rather just have something that just fits within my game. And I don't want something that's going to take a long time to like have to program and tune and get it to feel just right. I think that's the one thing about doing the whole like rhythm-based combat kind of thing that we were talking about earlier, is that I do think even if I could find a programmer who could do it right, there's still a matter of tuning it to feel good. People are not precise on the beat. When you are playing real instruments, you can be really fucking close to the beat, but people are never that perfectly on the beat. In fact, it's kind of funny because in a lot of music software, there's a lot of effort made when using software to get the music off the beat, even if it's just by a few milliseconds, because having the music off the perfect beat brings a whole new life to the music, because people don't play, they're not robots, they're not perfectly on the beat all the time. So, you know, when it comes to tuning that kind of stuff, you'd want to, even the perfect range, you would still want to have some leeway, right? You'd probably want to have plus or minus, 5 milliseconds in each direction. So if you're 5 seconds too early and 5 seconds too fast, then you'd still be considered a perfect beat. So I don't know, and that's just an example. Like, this is what I'm saying, is it'd probably take a lot of time tuning these numbers just right to feel right. And also, like with a lot of rhythm games, you'd probably want to have difficulty adjustments, which those adjustments would basically open that window up wider or smaller, depending on whether you want it easier or more difficult. Which would also, I think it would be important to have that if rhythm was part of my game. And so that would just also require some more tooling around with things as well. So I think that's another problem with the idea of having the rhythm thing there. But it's fun to think about, like I said. Feel free to spitball different ideas for the game. I don't know what the timeline is for my game at this point, that I guess I have the time to devote to implementing something more interesting than whatever combat I have now. Though in general, I think the combat I have now is mostly fine. One thing I think, I think having numbers improved would definitely improve some of the satisfaction with it. But I think one thing that I did mention was maybe applying, like, with the idea of the rhythm kind of thing, of applying multiple states in a single turn. I don't think it's fair to be able to apply five states in a single turn, but it might still benefit the game to allow the possibility of applying more than one stack per turn. It might speed things up a little bit, because I know that was one of the complaints, is that the combat is a little bit slow because enemies are tanky. And I know, Mr. Orc, you say that's just RM people being RM people, but I don't know. I agree to an extent. I think if your combat is not interesting enough for long battles, then it should be shorter, right? So if the combat is not super, super interesting with complexity and stuff like that, then it should be shorter. Rhythm ain't gonna happen. I don't see the problem of having skills that play like 2 to 4 notes on a hit that sound like some form of melody if they all got hit. That's super easy to implement. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it also doesn't have to be like a whole song. I mean, not that. What am I trying to say? I don't know. yeah, maybe. I can see some possibilities with that. I'm not saying my combat is not interesting. I'm just saying it's not interesting enough. I don't know. Let's I don't know, like I said, brainstorm some ideas. If anything pops into your head, feel free to share it. You know, I'm not sure what my next move is. I'm gonna like, okay, so real talks for a moment. So and I guess Mr. Orc, you know this. So my current contract for my job ends this next week, which sucks. So like until I'm able to start working again, which I don't know when that will be. I'm not really in a position to hire anyone because obviously I need to pay my bills. That way you can have stacks of whatever applied. You have the music theme, which is super important, and you have way more engagement. Realizing he can't satisfy more than 50% of his public. Listen, there's only 2 of you in the live stream chat, but I usually have folks who do actually watch the archive, which is why occasionally I address the archive watchers. I stream at a weird time. A lot of my viewers are actually in America, not Europe. Even in Europe, this is like daytime hours for you guys. Most people prefer to watch streams in the evening, not daytime hours. So, you know, it's a weird time for streaming. Anyways, that's why they watch the archive. Anyways, so because I don't know when I'll have my next employment, I don't know when I'll have income again, so I need to spend money on bills, not hobbies. So basically what I'm saying is I'm not even going to bother looking for a programmer until I have stable income again. So yeah. And if you decide to actually take commissions, I may or may not be interested depending on price. I'm not going to be able to pay your bill. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I still haven't decided. I'm waiting. I did have a job interview last week. I'm not really too hopeful on it because I'm not going to give details about my personal life, but I will say there was one question they asked me that I fucked. It was like one of the most important questions they asked me about, like, concerning the actual job itself. And I just flubbed that fucking question so bad. I'm not feeling too hopeful about that job. But anyways, I'm expecting a reply from them this week. Fingers crossed. Maybe they'll say, yeah, even though you fucked up that one question, we still want to hire you. So, and if they say that, then I'll be like, okay, I'll know I have income starting in April. I think that's when it will be, is starting April. And so, yeah, I actually probably won't spend any money during March because I still won't have a job during that time. But, at least then I can at least look for a programmer and be like, hey, I'm going to be ready to pay you on this month. Do you think you'd be interested in this job? At least I could find them in advance. Because it usually takes a long time to find good talent. So, yeah, best of luck then. Yeah, thanks. So, I felt like there was somewhere else I was going with that. Something about programmers and my game and whatever. But I don't know. I've lost it now. There's something about that. Yeah, I guess where I was kind of going with that is that once I look for a programmer, I'm probably like, unless I've come up with a different idea for my combat. Like, okay, let me try that again. Right now is the time to consider ideas of how to change my combat if I want to change it. Once I have income again, I'm going to start looking for a programmer. If I haven't found a new idea for my combat that needs to be programmed, then I'm just going to commission them to make the combat system I'm using now. If I have come up with some sort of interesting idea for the combat by the time I have regular income again, then of course, obviously, I'll tell the programmer, like, hey, this is what I need made. So basically, yeah, that's what I'm saying is now's the time to think, to brainstorm ideas for combat. Oh, also, you brought up maybe doing commissions. Yeah. Also, so I guess also me bringing up that job is that if I do have if I know that I have a job coming up, I may not open up commissions. I might, like, I did this back in August because I had summer vacation during August and had a lot of free time. And so back then I was like, yeah, you know what? I want to go ahead and open up commissions and see if anyone hires me. I kind of didn't expect anyone to hire me. And spoiler alert, no one did hire me because I set my prices kind of outrageously high. I figured, I kind of was like, I was kind of testing the waters. I wasn't super interested in doing commissions for other people, but I just wanted to test the water to be like, well, what the hell? If I ask for this insane price, is anyone crazy enough to take it? No. Answer's no. But anyways, at least it gave me an idea of, at least I have the thread open on RPG Maker forums, and I just need to go in there and change the price to be more reasonable. The thing is, Mr. Orc, I haven't completely given up on your request, but I will mention it did occur to me that back when I was accepting commissions, let's put this full screen because there's no reason to be looking at the game. Anyways, back when I was accepting commissions, I had more free time. I was not working because I was on summer vacation at that time. So I was able to, spend a little bit more time working on music. The second thing was, I remember this quite clearly, actually, is that I think the commission said, obviously I'm willing to work with you on the sound, but I don't request me to do specific music, right? Like, I'm going to find the sound that's best for your game. You're not going to find the sound that's best for me to write, if that makes sense. And I think that's one area where I'm struggling. It's obviously something I need to get better at is writing music that, how to explain, because the way that I just phrased it sounds terrible. Like, I'm gonna write music the way that I want, and I don't give a shit about what you want. That's not what I meant, but I just mean, like, I don't know. Yeah. Mr. Orc having to wait even more for artists. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. What I guess really what it comes down to is that you're not dependent on my songs. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, but I do. I want to be able to write music that I'm not normally comfortable doing. Like that's how Fiddle's music started, right? Like before my music was before this was my music, you know. It was and here, not there. And here. And here. Not there. Well, I mean, I guess. Maybe it'd be better to be here. And here. What do you mean, ah yes, the cringe? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Anyways, so like, this is what my music was before Fiddle. And then when I started working on Fiddle's soundtrack, you know, it needed to be something not this. Like, this is obviously not going to work for Fiddle. And so I had to start writing music that I wasn't comfortable writing with. And now I really enjoy writing it. And that's really what I want to get to with the music that you want. But I'm really, really struggling with that. I'm just, I've made a few more attempts that I haven't even shared with you. And just not happy with them. I'm upset with you. There's a lot of metaphor and stuff that goes on in the writing. Oh no. I'm upset. I'm upset. Oh, my music. I was proud of this one. Um, Man, yeah, oh, you're hurting me. You're hurting me with that one. That's some of the coldest stuff I've read. It's cold. Well, anyways, um, I can understand the. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I get that. Um, but it's hard to feel motivated to write something I'm not happy with. I mean, kind of imagine with you working on your game, like why would you work on a game you're not happy working on, right? I mean, it's the same thing with anything else, whether it's music or art or whatever. If you're not enjoying making that thing, then it's hard to keep the motivation going. And um, it's easy to also sort of lose interest in that hobby as a result. I mean, like a long time ago, I used to do photography. It's actually what I went to university for. And when I went to university for photography, um, I'd have assignments about getting specific kinds of shots and using different kind of specific techniques and whatever. Um, and it quickly sapped all the fun out of the hobby of just taking pictures, and that's what it was for me back then. It was just the fun of taking pictures. It wasn't something I really wanted to take seriously, and because it sapped so much fun out of it, I wound up selling off all my camera equipment. And I never looked back on owning nice camera equipment again. And I don't think that would happen with my music, but I'm just saying that it's a good road to go down. If you want to lose interest in a hobby, is continuing to do that hobby when you're not enjoying it, because you will eventually just grow to hate it, and then never look back. I get the same feeling when making maps for that one guy. I make them as best as I can, but I'm not personally happy with them because they're fucking RTP. But it's not up to me to judge. He's happy with them, so I get paid. I didn't know you had a client already hiring you. I did also consider hiring you as well for some mapping stuff. I absolutely hate working with the Forest FSM tile set. Fucking miserable. So I considered maybe offloading some of that work onto someone else because I hate the fucking tile set. I did. I talked about this. I don't know. Whenever there was a couple of streams ago, I think I brought up the forest tile set. Like not that one. I redid this. I attempted to redo this corridor, but fucking RPG Maker MV's stupid fucking tile layers and this stupid fucking tiles. The shadows, like, oh, those fucking shadows. Like here, there's a missing corner here for the shadow, and there's a missing corner there. I think there was somewhere in here that like I needed to completely redo it. You're not editing tiles though? I don't know what you mean by editing tiles. If you mean like existing maps, I probably wouldn't ask you to modify this existing map. I would probably just ask you to make it from scratch, because I think a lot of this shit needs to be redone. Oh, shit. Thanks. There we go. Sorry. Let's try that again. So there's a corner piece here, and there's a corner piece here that's missing. I think this is where I gave up. So somewhere in here, I think I need to like completely redo the shadows because they're like not aligned properly, and I hate this fucking tile set. And honestly, it wouldn't be a huge problem, but because you don't have like the layer controls like in MZ, it's just like you wind up having to redo that whole tile. Oh yeah, of course. I haven't decided yet what I want to do for the forest. Like with the seas, both the seas and the cave. Obviously, I had like remade that. Like I had remastered them, whatever you want to fucking say, the FSM tiles to suit my needs. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do for the forest yet. I do like the general look of the forest tile sets. It's just, oh, the shadow tiles on the trees are so fucking tedious. I hate them. So I don't know. Anywho, no, I'll have to see later. Like I said, not in a position to commission anyone right now. So I don't know. It's kind of late, and obviously I have a guest. So let's not keep them waiting too long. So I think I'm gonna wrap up this stream. Made a ton of beautiful forest maps with the tile. Okay. Did I just close RPG Maker? I did close RPG Maker. Why did I do that? Like once we can get this map back up, where did it go? Here we go. Like assuming maps for music or whatever, yeah, that would be fine too. I gotta actually fucking finish a song. Anyways, like if this map was actually finished, I really like the look of the map. Like I think this looks appealing. Like it's eye-catching to me. I don't know about you. Again, assuming that it is actually finished. Like it has the right elements of a good-looking map. I don't doubt my ability of making a good-looking map. That's not the problem. The problem is I find using this tile set really fucking tedious. I hate these stupid shadows on these fucking trees. They're the worst fucking thing. So I don't doubt my ability to make a beautiful map. I just hate doing it. That's all. So that's my reply to you, Fortuna. And Orc, we'll see. Let me kind of beat my head against this music some more soon. I'm basically gonna say, let's take yet another pause. I know I said I was gonna finish that. I know I said that I was gonna finish that electronic song, and then I was gonna try to attempt your music again, and I technically did do that, and like I said, I wasn't happy with the results again. So let's take another break. Again. Here's the thing. So let me explain what's the process that's happening here. I basically feel like I just need more time, because what happens is I spend a long time working on the music. I get a result that I'm not happy with, and then I feel even more frustrated because it's like I feel like I wasted my time and I could have spent that working on my game. And I have very like lately I've been kind of almost stressed, I guess you could say, because I haven't had a lot of time to work on my game. It's like I work on my game maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times a week, and it's only for like, an hour or two. So I'm not making a lot of progress very fast. And so it's like when I spend that 1 or 2 hours I have in the afternoon of free time to work on something, and then I devote it to, like writing music, and then the end result is nothing got accomplished. I feel grumpy. I feel upset, So I want to have more time so that way, shut up. I know I have no obligation, but I also said I want to do it. But also I want to wait until after this week when my contract ends. I'll have a lot more free time, and so because I have a lot more free time, if I spend 2 hours working on a song and I'm not satisfied with the results, it doesn't feel like I've wasted so much time. Like that 2 hours is not as valuable as those 2 hours I have now, if that makes sense. So, yeah, basically that's what I'm saying. It's just wait until after this week. After this week, I'll have more time, and I will. It will probably take a few attempts, but I'm going to try to power through whatever unhappy, unsatisfied feelings I'm having with the song. I'm going to just try to power through it, and hopefully, eventually, we'll find something that works. Well, fuck you. Even if you don't want the music, if I write a song and you say, nah, I don't need it anymore, then at least I'll say, well, and I'm at least happy with the song, and I'll throw it as a bonus song on the soundtrack or whatever. So, I always like having bonus songs to include with my albums anyways, so it'll be nice to have a bonus song to throw on there. So, anyways, when I have more time, I'll do... Also, I should mention, by the way, it's not just your song. This was especially upsetting yesterday. Friday, I was looking forward to stay up late. There's a song I need to write for my own game, and just like your song, I had made an attempt to write it before and was unsatisfied with the results. But finally, I had an idea that hit me for that song, and I wanted to attempt it again, and it worked. I was like, whoa, this is really cool. This is sounding really great, and this idea is actually like coming together. And for the first time in the 2 years I've been using Reaper, it crashed. It never crashes. It's a tank of a program. It's the most stable software I've ever used in my life. And it crashed for the first time ever. And because for like the 2 years I've used it, I've trusted it with being stable, that I got complacent about saving, and go figure, when it crashed, I lost everything. The whole 2 hours on my Friday that I had devoted to this song, and I was satisfied with it, and the software crashed, and it's all gone. My 2 hours I had on Friday, poof, vanished. I went to bed pretty upset. So, it's not just your music. I don't mean to say I don't want it. I'm saying there's no rush. I'm aware that this request is not your comfort zone, and I appreciate you stepping out of it. Yeah, and that's also why I want to do it, is because getting out of the comfort zone. So anyways. Well, we'll see if what your response is, if any response, and if there is no response, then we'll just wrap up this stream. Yeah, and I also maybe there will be a stream next week. I'm gonna probably get into the habit of stop promising streams, because I know I should have had a stream last week. I think I had even promised a stream last week, but I wasn't there. So I'm not going to promise a stream next week, but if there is a stream next week, damn, I have no backups of any of my games. Dude, I have so many backups of my game. I have local backups, and I also have cloud backups. Yeah, I guess the lesson to be learned here is that just because the software is really stable doesn't mean it might, on a rare occasion, actually crash. So, back up your stuff? I don't know. Yeah, anyways, if I do stream next week, I'll play some games. There is a certain drama that happened last time I streamed some games that I feel like I should address. I'm not going to talk specifically about what game or what developer started the drama. But I do want to talk about what I feel like needs to be addressed. Like I'm not going to talk about them because I don't know, I guess have some problems or something. they definitely have problems with me, that's for sure. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about I don't know. I don't know, like how to handle criticism, and I don't know. I'm just going to address it. That's all. I'm just going to address it next time, and whatever that means is what it means. And yeah, you guys can sit there and debate about whether it's going to happen or not. Even if nothing ever bad has happened, trust me, once it finally does happen, it's going to be a huge regret. I will admit that I'm talking about being professional as a game dev. You know, I don't know if Fortuna does. I talked to you about it probably the most, Mr. Orc. I did bring it up in my own Discord server, but once it kind of started escalating, like I brought up the original comment like I showed you, but then once it started escalating, I was like, nope, never mind. But I did have some people say that they had read some of that, and just like you, they wanted to throw in their own 2 cents into the conversation. I was just like, no, please don't. I don't want to engage with it anymore. Like, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. I was half tempted to just go ahead and just delete the whole comment section, because it's not that I have a problem with what he said. It's that I don't want people engaging with him. And if that comment is there, it is too tempting for people to want to reply, and I don't want people to engage with them. So I was tempted to delete it. I haven't deleted the comment yet. If I do see people actually reply to his comment, I will probably just delete that whole comment thread. Don't worry, I have a screenshot of it though, so if you want to relive the memories, then I can always share the screenshot with you. Yeah, that developer. I kind of just want to rant about it right now though, because I don't understand. He was front page on itch. Like, why are you so insecure about your game? You're front page on itch, and like you go into the comments on itch, and it's like every single comment is like, oh my god, I love this game so much. It's just like, Why are you singling out this no-name fucking streamer? Why are you like, one dude left a negative review. This no-name fucking streamer left a negative review on your game. And rather than engage with the hundreds of positive comments, front page on itch, instead you're like, nah, fuck this guy. He didn't give me that prize. Like, I don't fucking, sorry, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Yes, I do, but I do want to talk about it, but let's not continue the so stupid. I'm trying to wrap up the stream. I want to go on a rant about that, though. It's just ridiculous. So, how much engagement is that going to create that I brought that up, or can I wrap up? Let's see what you folks have to say. While you do it, let's just make sure there's not been any other additional comments on that thread. I hurt their little feelings. I guess so. Yep. I think we'll just leave it at that. I hurt their feelings. Alright. So that's probably a good place to wrap up. So thanks so much for watching. And I will maybe see you guys next weekend with some games and maybe another upset developer. Who knows? Alright, well, bye.